Can you believe it's been a year since I reviewed Cool Doji Daishi? I still remember it like it was yesterday. I was really worried about taking the channel in a new direction, which I'm still figuring out a year later, and I give the team props for bringing this series to life. It's a shame no one talks about it as much, or why it still doesn't have an English dub, but it was a huge pleasure to experience a calm show at the start of my seasonal anime journey. And not many shows had touched me like Cool Doji Daishi did. Until now anyway. My New Boss is Goofy is the latest anime to come from the juggernaut that is A1 Pictures. So the series was created by Dan Ichikawa, who posted illustrations of the story on his Twitter page. That sounds familiar. It was then collected by Akita Shoten, who brought it together in manga form and published it. This would then be adapted by A1, which involves some interesting people, as the director of the series would be Noriyuki Abe, who was involved in a number of shows like Naruto, Bleach, Black Butler, and had recently directed the Netflix show Uku the Inner Chambers. The rest of the crew had worked on some notable stuff, as well as some other A1 Picture titles. So already I'm intrigued, and from the visuals and panels, this looks like a really sweet anime. So why don't we put on our ties and get right to work? Oh god! So the episode begins with Kentaro Momose starting a new job after leaving his previous one, where his boss was a slave driver who bullied and belittled him. So much so that the guy had become anxious to start a new job, worrying that his new boss would be just as bad, if not worse, than the last boss. And we can see that the stress had affected him, giving him stomach cramps and anxiety that destroyed his self-confidence. But he pushes on and introduces himself to his new co-worker, as well as Yusei Shirosaki, a unique man who is also his boss. So the boss and Kentaro get to know each other, but his anxiety about the last boss creeps up on him and gives him stomach cramps. Worried that his new boss will be the same, his mind goes into a vicious cycle, panicking that he's in for it again. Except Yusei doesn't do that. Instead, he goes to the shop to grab a packet of medicine for menstrual pain? Hey, that's mine. So it turns out that his new boss is in fact a goofy guy who's an absolute klutz in life, and from then on, Kentaro's life takes a turn for the better as he starts an unusual chapter which is filled with healing, support, and a bit of goofiness. Oh man, I'm already seeing the Plate Cool Guy similarities with the boss, and it affects me the same way as well, only this time we're getting 20-minute long episodes. But this episode is already starting off strong, and honestly, I'm so happy we're getting a proper slice of life anime to boot. I feel last season was severely lacking in those type of animes, something that made me smile, but here I'm already geeking out. And I think one reason why I already like this anime is because of how relatable it is to me. I mean, many of us have worked crappy jobs in the past, and some still are, but when you move into a new job and environment, you have no clue whether it will be better or worse, and it can be nerve-wracking for some. It was for me when I left my previous job, since I had to deal with managers who were incredibly unsavory and caused a lot of unneeded stress for me. And I remember thinking that this job could be much worse, and was careful to watch myself so I wouldn't screw up. Which funnily enough led to more mistakes when I realised I was in a calm environment. As soon as I found my wings, I soared in an environment that was very supportive of me, and I loved that feeling. It was awesome. Seriously, last season was missing that wholesome feeling I needed. The My Tiny Senpai anime didn't catch my interest whatsoever, and I needed something that could give me the same feeling like Skip and Loafer did, which is amazing in itself, and I wish I made a video on it. But this show really gives my heart a flutter, seeing these people living life to the max, which annoys me when people write it off as BL. Yeah, it seems to come up quite a bit in these shows, but for some reason, when people see a group of good looking guys bond, it gets them thinking that they could be in love, and honestly, I really get annoyed when people do this. Why does it matter so much, especially when the show makes it clear that this isn't going to be the case? I think. Okay, the point is that there's nothing wrong with it, and it's pretty neat seeing shows like this and I'm in love with a villainess coming into the fray, and showing that this is normal. It's interesting to see how the anime community is like this, and I hope the community can improve, because they're missing out on a load of shows. So why don't we talk about the characters here, because I love the two main leads. I really liked how these two worked together in the beginning of the series, as the boss's boss decides to put the new guy with Goofy here. and after some umming and ahhing, they finally hit it off. I love the boss man. The way he makes his mistakes and get embarrassed makes my heart flutter, and the companionship he has with his employees is no less than wholesome. And I love that the boss reminds me of Cool Doji Daishi's Takayuki Mima, mainly because he's the klutz in an office environment, but the boss plays him so well. And surprise surprise, it turns out that the voice actor for this show is also the same voice actor for Mima in Cool Doji Daishi. And this guy's done quite a few voices for this season that I recognise, and also... Okay, let's just move on. Interestingly, the voice actor is not the only similarity to Cool, as the composer of the show also worked on Play It Cool, which is kind of neat that we have some staff working at both. As for Kentaro, he's a lovable dude who just can't help to find his boss adorable, as each episode he struggles with anxiety and that he might do something wrong which would upset his boss. It's a difficult journey for him as he tries to come to terms with it, but the boss is there to cheer him up wherever he is, even if it's unintentional. The other characters are sweet too, like the boss's boss. Despite the demeanour, he's a harmless guy who taught the boss the ropes, and he also has a bit of a quirk, which involves him being a bit needy. Ah, stay strong, man. And for God's sake, you need to stop being needy. I spent 2 hours on this and no one ever seems to notice. You know something? The more episodes I watch, I find it really difficult to not compare it to Play It Cool, guys. I mean, there are similarities from its origins, the vibe, the fact that some of the staff did work on Cool. But for comparison's sake, does this show rank higher compared to Cool Doji Daishi? Not really. I mean, it's sweet, but I felt more at home with Cool Doji Daishi because of its relatability and its strong characters. The fact it's 10 minutes long, funnily enough, worked in favour of it, because I felt like I was watching just enough to enjoy it to the fullest. Not saying that this show doesn't do this, but I never really felt that attachment with this show. I never really looked at these two like I did with other characters. And another thing that makes me prefer Cool is a weird one, but it's the fact that it was released on a Monday instead of a Saturday. Hear me out here. So with Play It Cool, guys, I was often coming home from the office during the winter, where it would be getting dark sooner than expected, and much colder than I thought. So getting home, I would often snuggle up in bed and put on some anime. And what would wait for me was Play It Cool, guys, as I would watch 10 minutes of bliss to forget about the cold. It felt like I was drinking hot tea to calm me down. And I can't be unfair to my bosses Goofy, because there's no way that this show could elicit those feelings. I mean, I don't blame them, because Saturdays are the prime time for anime releases. Loads of people watch shows on Saturdays, whereas Monday's releases don't really have that hype, which is a shame because Monday can have some great offerings. Now, having said all this, just because I like Play It Cool, guys, more, does not mean that my new boss's Goofy is bad, because I really did enjoy this show. It was very pleasant, and I found myself smiling a lot. And let's be honest, I'm being unfair by comparing. It's not really good critiquing in my opinion. It's fun to do, but that's not really fair for shows because not all shows are alike. And people can like them for different reasons. And I like this for my own reasons, not for the ones I like Play It Cool, guys, for. Especially with the lack of good slice of life from this season. It's nothing groundbreaking, but I feel it helps to keep me grounded and not lose my mind with all the fantasy shows and whatever this is. Oh, to be young and edgy again. My new boss's Goofy is a hit of diabetes I need after being cold turkey for the last few months. It's a relatable show which brings me back to the start of my journey, and watching another show and seeing people give it love is such a good feeling. So if you want that sugar rush, then call up the boss because... Wait, boss, which way you going? Well, it looks like I'm out of the job. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have, don't forget to leave a like. Also, let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Now, if you'll excuse me, I gotta go back on the job hunt. But seriously, what do you guys think about this? It's neat, isn't it?